Hey everybody, just a quick announcement. If you're seeing this video right when it goes live, odds are I'm actually streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Kano right now. And it's the special birthday stream. So if you want to wish me a happy birthday like everybody else in Twitch chat does literally every freaking day of the week, but you actually want me to respond with something that is other than it's not my birthday, now's your opportunity. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy the video. This one's an interesting one. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic, where we try to make the magic meta mad. Now, today, I have a really interesting one for you. We have Modern Snake Tribal. Not what I expected to find when I was going looking for decks today, but, a very interesting deck nonetheless. So, I'll jump right into the deck tech. In the 1-drop slot, we have Hex Drinker, best 1-drop snake. You can level it up to give it protection from most relevant removal, and then if you level it up all the way, it's a build your own 6/10 of a Progenitus. We have Aether Vial, because we are a mostly creature deck. Lotus Cobra, which helps us cheat on mana for some of our more expensive spells, because we have fetch lands. Coiling Oracle, our card advantage snake of choice. I can't believe I said that sentence. Basically, it does in Merfolk kind of what Silvergill Adept does. It's our 2-drop draw card snake. But we also have Ice-fang Quaddle, which is a 2-mana 1/1 flash flying snake with Death Touch that also draws a card. Force of Negation, because we have a lot of blue cards in the deck as our free counterspell of choice to help protect our board. Sosuke's Summons, which is a 3-mana sorcery that creates 2 1/1 snakes with whenever a non-token snake enters the battlefield, you can return Sosuke's Summons from your graveyard to your hand. What this means is we have a way to spend our mana at sorcery speed and to recur value by vialing in more snakes beyond just drawing a card. We're playing 3 of that card, by the way. We have Teferi Time Raveler, because he is very strong and broken, and Crystal Shard, which is a card that used to see a lot more play than I think it does now, but it is a repeatable unsummon if the person whose creature gets targeted does not pay 1 mana. You can also use this to save your own creatures, which can be important. You can save them from removal. In the event of the snakes that draw cards, you can vial them back in for more value. It is a way to infinitely buy back Mystic Snake, which is a counterspell that is also a snake at the 4-drop slot. Now we get into some of the more interesting tech. We have Glare of Subdual, which, in the event that we are against a creature deck, or an artifact deck of some kind, I'm not sure there is one in the modern format right now, at least not one that jumps out to me, this becomes a pseudo-opposition, in that it can't tap lands, but it can tap creatures and artifacts. And because we're making a million snakes from Sosuke's summons, we can use all of our tokens to tap all of their creatures every turn and then get in for big swings. We have a Jace the Mind Sculptor in the 4-drop slot, because. And also in the 4-drop slot, some of our spiciest tech as a singleton, because we are snakes, we have Shisado Whispering Hunter, which has, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a snake. Whenever Shisado Whispering Hunter deals combat damage to a player, that player skips their next untap step. I think you can see where this is going with Crystal Shard and Glare of Subdual. If we just tap all of our opponent's stuff, and they're tapping their lands to cast spells, which are creatures or artifacts, which we then tap, we just infinitely prevent them from untapping by protecting Shisado with Teferi. And, yeah, it's a pretty brutal lock if it happens, I suppose. In the 5-mana slot, we have Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. And in the 6th mana slot, we have Sashiro the Anointed, which is a 6-mana 3/4 snake monk that other snake creatures you control get +2/+2. Whenever a snake you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. As kind of our reload spell /Toski /Double Glorious Anthem creature, which, It's very interesting. Onto the sideboard tech, we have Skyclave Apparition, because it's a very strong, very good card. Path to Exile as our removal of choice. We have Force of Vigor, in case we need to be destroying artifacts and enchantments. We can do so for free. We have Wheel of Sun and Moon as anti-mill tech, anti-self-mill deck, because if you use this against Dredge, they can't Dredge. It's kind of funny. And then we have Damping Sphere for Anti-Tron and Anti-Storm. I have no idea if this deck is good or bad, but I saw this and I couldn't not play it. So, wish me luck. I'll see you guys in round 1. Alright, we're on the play for round 1. And I don't know if this is a good hand or not. On the one hand, we can get 4 mana on turn 2 and play Glare of Subdual. On the other hand, I'm going to lead on Cavern Naming Snake with no snakes. I think I mulligan once. Oh gosh, okay. Well, I need lands. That much is for sure. So I'm going to 5. Okay, alright. I can work with this, in fact. I will put back Teferi and Crystal Shard. And we will lead on Snow-Covered Forest into Hexdrinker, pass the turn. Opponent leads on Island, Sleight of Hand. Okay, this is probably Storm. So we may not be able to beat them post-board. Or pre-board, excuse me. So let's play Windswept Teeth, fetch Windswept Teeth. We'll get a Breeding Pool, untapped, level up, pass the turn by attacking. Opponent untaps. They shock a Steam Vents. This is okay. It is Storm. They have Grape Shot. We untap. We draw a Seshiro the Anointed. Play Windswept Teeth. Play Hexdrinker. Level up Hexdrinker. Fetch another Forest. Level up Hexdrinker. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Shivan Reef. Goblin Electromancer. And they're probably going to combo. They don't. We draw Mystic Snake. I didn't get double blue. That was a mistake. So play Snow-Covered Forest, level up. I'm going to level up one more time as well. Next turn, if I have nothing to do, I can level up Hexdrinker all the way to 8. I'm going to basically pump fake that I have a counterspell of some kind, and I'm playing some very strange Bant Hexdrinker deck. My opponent doesn't need to know we're Tribal Snakes. We hit them down to 12. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. They shock a Steam Vents going down to 10. Ritual, Manamorphose, into blue. We're probably just dead without Damping Sphere, but gifts? Yeah, alright. There's a million different ways my opponent could kill us with that much mana. So, I'm just going to concede. So opponent saw Hexdrinkers and lands out of us, nothing else. So we're bringing in Damping Sphere. Do we bring in Wheel of Sun and Moon for Path? I think our Glare of Subdual plan probably doesn't do enough against this particular opponent. We probably just want to get as low to the ground as we can. So like Seshiro, Teferi, and our top end probably needs to come out. I think we do bring in some number of paths, and I'd cut like a Summonings and a Crystal Shard. No, I kind of like Crystal Shard. I think we cut a couple of Summonings here, because it fits into the Glare of Subdual plan, really. I don't want to get rid of them completely, but I think this is the board we make. Try it like this. Hopefully we don't have to mulligan twice, and we get a hand full of action. Alright, I would like to play first. We have 2 lands and a Damping Sphere, so I am going to keep. We are also on the play, so hopefully we can resolve a Damping Sphere. It would be bad if my opponent had a Spell Snare or a Spell Pierce to help protect themselves from a Damping Sphere. So, lead on Flooded Strand. Let's get a Temple Garden. Untapped. Play Hexdrinker. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Steam Vents tapped. Passes. We untap. Draw Forest. Play the Forest. Play Damping Sphere. Go to combat. Attack them for 2. They go to 18 and untap. They play a River Glide Pathway. We untap. Draw Windswept Heath. Play Lotus Cobra. Opponent remands Lotus Cobra. Sure. Play an island. Level up. Go to combat. Attack our opponent for 2. We may have let the cat out of the bag, or the snake out of the hand. Opponent casts Serum Visions and passes. And concedes. Okay. Damping Sphere, get him. Alright, we'll just run it back. I don't think we make any adjustments for being on the draw versus being on the play here. Okay, yeah, sure. I'll keep this hand. Opponent leads on Shivan Reef, plays a Serum Visions. Sure. I hope I draw another another fetch land at least. We untap. We draw a forest. Play forest. Play Hexdrinker. Pass the turn. Now, if my opponent leaves up mana, we're gonna Cavern of Souls on Snake. Play Lotus Cobra. We untap. We draw Teferi Time Raveler. So play Cavern of Souls. Name Snake. Something I have never done before in my life. Oh, play Damping Sphere. Pass the turn. No attacks. Opponent untaps. Opponent taps for red, changes their mind. Were they thinking about the Zero Storm Grape Shot to kill Hexdrinker? No, they ritual. Okay. Aria of Flame. Reasonable. We gain 10. They attack us for 1. That's fine. We untap. Draw another Teferi. So, we need to fetch up... We can't play Teferi. We don't have the right mana. So... Green. Play Lotus Cobra. Play Misty. We still can't play Teferi this turn, even though we can get 3 mana here, so we just have to level up Hexdrinker. So always yield. Add green, fetch, Shock Hollowed Fountain. Add blue, level up, go to combat, hit them for 4. Next turn, if we draw any land, we can play Teferi and reset Aria of Flame, meaning they have to gain us 10 more life to stay in the game. We have presented a clock. So opponent Desperate Ritual. First counter on Aria of Flame. We take a damage. They get mana. They Abrade to destroy Damping Sphere. That is actually quite dangerous. Now, if they just have, like, Ritual Gifts Ungiven, or, like, double Ritual Gifts Ungiven, we might be in huge trouble. They opt. We are back to 20. And they're going to Lightning Bolt, Lotus Cobra. Okay. They go to combat. They hit us down to 15. Please, let me draw a land to play Teferi. That is not a land that plays Teferi, although it does give me Mystic Snake. So play Cavern, name Snake, go to combat, attack for 4. Opponent goes to 9. They untap. They're going to Desperate Ritual. Okay, we definitely Mystic Snake this. And it can't be countered. They still get to shoot us for 5, but they probably are out of action here. We really need to get this Teferi down and unsummon that Aria of Flame. These caverns are hurting right now. We untap. We draw a Plains. So I could level up to 6, but the odds that my opponent can cast and kill... I think Teferi Unsummon is the best play. Hang on. Let me think about this. I could play the Snow-Covered Plains, level up the Hexdrinker all the way, and attack. But that leaves my opponent with a cost reducer and a clear lane to victory. I think I have to play Teferi even if they have a Remand, which really sucks. But play Teferi. If they don't have a counterspell here, we're golden. If they do have a counterspell here, we're basically guaranteed to die. But they only have 2 cards in hand, and they've been choked on mana this entire time. Bounce Aria Flame? Yes! Level up. Go to combat. I'll leave the Mystic Snake back to block. I don't want them to get a free kill on Teferi. Hit them to 4. Now, if we can level up Mystic Snake to 6, to 8, they just die. They tap for red. Manamorphose. Oh my god, if they get the Storm kill here with only like 3 cards in hand, double red. I will be so upset if they can Storm kill me here. Another Manamorphose? No. Well, we were dead if we didn't hit the Aria of Flame. That much is for certain. If they have to replay Aria of Flame here, we're going back to 20. They're thinking hard. They replay Aria of Flame. We go to 20. Desperate Ritual. Where are they getting all these cards? Oh, right, the Manamorphose. They kill Teferi. They have 2 cards left in hand. They only have red mana. Grape Shot. So they're going to use that to kill our Hexdrinker and throw the rest at our face. I have never played such a ridiculous game against Storm. I think this is fantastic. We untap. We draw another cavern. So blue, green, play Coiling Oracle. Because we could potentially draw something better. Okay, we get a Flooded Strand. I think we still have to play Teferi here. Bouncing Aria Flame again. Play second Teferi. Bounce Aria. We draw another Flooded Strand. Play Flooded Strand. Pass the turn. Alright, opponent untaps. Oh, they have such painful mana. They're going to 2. The third Aria Flame, the same one. They've gained us 30 life, and we still would be dead without it. Oh, man. That's hilarious. Alright, fetch up. We need a basic island. And, fetch up, I guess, a Temple Garden tapped. We untap. We're gonna win by using Chase as an unsummon. What is this deck? Oh, man. Play Jace the Mind Sculptor. Oh, I love it. We won the match versus a real deck. A really real deck. I'll see you guys around 2. All right, we are on the play versus an unknown opponent playing Obosh. And I think I'm going to keep this. This hand's got a chance. We've got some redraws. So lead on Snow-Covered Forest, pass the turn. Opponent leads on Mountain. They also pass. We draw Hex Drinker. So play Cavern. Name Snake. Play Coiling Oracle. Draw card. / Sword of Ramp. It's a Windswept team. I'm gonna fetch our other basic forest and play Hex Drinker. I mean, if my opponent has a Lava Dart, they can wipe our board, but yeah. Okay, so opponent's gonna use a Lightning Bolt to kill Hex Drinker, presumably. Lava Dart. Alright, so they do have Lava Dart. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. If they were to cast, like, Stomp on their own turn, we have Force of Negation. Hopefully at some point they cast a non-creature spell on their own turn. We untap. We draw Breeding Pool. Go to combat. Attack for 1. Opponent takes 1. We cast Sosuke's Summons. Make some snakes. 2 mana. Opponent has Stomp. They cast it on our turn, so we can't force it, unfortunately. We get some snakes. Play Breeding Pool tapped. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a land. They play Bone Crusher Giant. And they pass. We untap. Draw Sosuke's Summons. Play Coiling Oracle. Kind of hoping we hit a land here. Pick up Sosuke's Summons. Coiling Oracle's ability. We put an Aether Vial into our hand. Play Aether Vial. Pass the turn. No attacks. Opponent untaps. They go to combat. No attacks. Interesting. They play a mountain. They put Obosh into their hand. We untap. Aether Vial, ticking up. We draw Lotus Cobra. Play Sosuke's Summons. Alright, pass the turn. I've got a feeling that I did not keep a fast enough hand versus Burn. Opponent plays a mountain, so they're probably playing Obosh here. Yep. They might just combo kill us next turn, because Force of Negation doesn't hit creatures. Although, if we drew a... Never mind. I was going to say, if we drew Teferi, we could unsummon it, but we can't, because we don't have the mana for Teferi. I feel like I'm going to have to be greedier with my fetches with this deck than I have been. Which is reasonable, especially to make that determination early rather than late. Opponent passes. We untap. Aether Vial. Gonna tick up to 2. We draw. Snow-Covered Island. Play Sosuke's Summons. Get snakes. Vial in Lotus Cobra. Unfortunately, this is not a fetch land, so I can't just always yes, always yield to Sosuke's Summons. Because I'm never not going to pick that back up, right? Play Island. Add green mana. Play Sosuke's Summons. More snakes. Pass the turn. We can't attack just yet, unfortunately. I think we keep Vial on 2. Most of our creatures are on 2. The problem is we have only one true counterspell here. Opponent firebolts our face. That may be worth countering, but I can't counter that. The only reason is because my opponent could play like land and flash it back. That's exactly what's happening here, isn't it? They're gonna stomp. That I will force, because that is a huge blocker if I don't. So we'll force pitching force. That's right, Simic Snakes. Opponent goes to combat. No attacks. We untap. We're going to keep Vial on 2. We draw Temple Garden. Play Temple Garden. Tapped. Add green mana. Play Sosuke Summoning. More snakes. We can't attack, though, because, like, even if I attack with all of my creatures and leave back, like, 2 extra 1/1s, they block here, take 6. Yeah. We basically just need to draw our Snake Monk and then kill them. That's the plan. Anyway, pass the turn. Opponent lightning bolts our face. But this is the other problem, is my opponent can just wait and kill us with pure burn here, because they have Obosh. They play Blast Zone, which thankfully cannot hit 0 drops. Are they killing our Vial? No. Okay, they flashback Firebolt. So we're dead to Bolt. Opponent passes. We untap. Vial gonna stay on 2. And we draw a land. I guess we're not officially dead yet, so we'll wait. Opponent untaps. They draw land. They could just be slow rolling a Bolt. Otherwise, they're holding 3 lands total. We untap. Vial gonna stay on 2. We draw Cavern. Oh, what's with all the land? Play Hollowed Fountain. Tapped. Pass the turn. Yep. Probably should have been attacking this whole time, but I'm not sure how the combat math for that works out. Opponent's gonna put charge counters on Blast Zone, taking it up to 2. Sure. They untap. They play a land. They're passing. We untap. Vial gonna stay on 2. Oh, the land! Why? Play Cavern. Name Snake. Add green mana. Doesn't matter. Go to combat. Well, I'm gonna leave back 4 blockers. This is probably what I should have done to begin with, but it's just what I got here. Opponent's gonna take 4. We lose so much here. Opponent just blows up our 2-drops. We're dead to any burn spell, and have been for a very long time, because Lava Dart does 2 damage from the grave. Opponent untaps. They draw. Okay. So versus Mono Red, what do we want? I think we do want Skyclave Apparition. I think it's important to have removal. Yeah. This hits Bone Crusher Giant without us taking damage, and I think we do need Path as well. This means that I think we need to get rid of most of our top end. Glare of Subdual here could actually be quite good. Mystic Snake is kind of questionable. Potentially it's strong, but at the 4-drop slot, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think Teferi Force... Actually, if I'm taking out like all my blue cards, I need to be taking out Force. Is that reasonable to do something like this? No, we still have a number of blue cards here. It's just Force is not very good. We still have Coiling Oracle, Ice-fang. We'll never make it to 6 mana for Seshiro unless we're doing Lotus Cobra shenanigans, I guess. So maybe we leave Seshiro in the deck. I'm taking out these 6 at least. Teferi is also somewhat decent, and Sosuke Summons was good there. Crystal Shard's kind of funny because it taxes their mana. Aether Vial may not be as good here, but I think it's still necessary because of the like mana cheating shenanigans we're working on. I'm gonna try 3 and 3 here and just take these out, and we'll try playing like this. Yeah, I've got to be greedier with the initial fetching. I would like to play first. The fact that this deck is 3 colors is why what do you call it? It's why we're not playing Prismatic Vistas and Basics alone. So lead on Windswept Heath, and I think we're gonna fetch Breeding Pool untapped and play Hex Drinker. This does hurt quite a bit against burn. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps, plays a mountain, immediately Lava Darts the Hex Drinker. We untap. We draw Misty. Because I drew another Misty, I think I'm fine fetching a basic forest here to play Coiling Oracle. Because I took out the Mystic Snakes, I probably won't need double blue anytime soon. Coiling Oracle finds us a Flooded Strand, which we will use to fetch Temple Garden tapped. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. The mana cheating helps a lot, I'm pretty sure. They Swift Spear and Lava Dart Coiling Oracle. They're going to hit us for 2. We untap. Draw Hex Drinker. If I play Hex Drinker... Actually... how do I want to do this? I was going to say, if I play Hex Drinker and start leveling it up, they could just Lava Dart it to kill it. maybe that's still worth it, and like we play Coiling Oracle after the fact. They can clear the way with Lava. Well, then they're getting rid of all of their mana. I don't think we just tap out for Glare of Subdual. Playing Teferi and bouncing is tempting. So let's play Misty. Fetch a basic island. I think we're going to play Teferi and then play Hex Drinker. And I may uptick Teferi, but I'm not decided yet here. Make it a basic island. I could try and go Maximum Greed and Coiling Oracle into something, but I think playing Teferi here is the correct line. Unsummoning Swift Spear is tempting, but I don't think it's the correct play. If they're threatened by Teferi, I want them attacking Teferi. We'll play Hex Drinker. This at least guarantees that if they're going to cast Lava Dart, they're going to cast it on their turn. Of course, they probably have a million other bolts and, you know, fire bolts and stuff like that to throw down now if they want. They play a mountain, so they have 3 mana. They're going to bolt Teferi. They're going to flashback Lava Dart to kill Hex Drinker. And then they attack and kill Teferi. We untap. Maybe it was correct to unsummon there to make them use more of their mana. Okay, play Glare of Subdual. Pass the turn. We really gotta hope that we don't die this turn, and Coiling Oracle gets us to another card. Opponent has Blast Zone into a Seasoned Pyromancer, dumping their last 2 cards in hand, which are Kozilek's Return and Firebolt. They're gonna hit us for 1. Okay? We untap. We draw Lotus Cobra. So, play Coiling Oracle. See what we hit. Cavern, Naming Snake. Then we'll play out Lotus Cobra. Stop on my opponent's upkeep. Tap here, and tap here. We need to get a Sosuke summoning, though. Opponent plays a Soulscar Mage. Firebolts us. Okay? They go to combat, they attack us for 2. We don't have any Wraths, and our opponent got ahead of us on board, so I think we're done here. I probably had a lot smarter plays, but I am really not used to playing creature decks like this, and I'm very, very not used to these cards in this tribe, so... Is my opponent going to Lava Dart? That's the only reason I can think they'd be stopped on my upkeep right now. If we don't draw a creature or an answer of some kind, we're dead next turn to a Lightning Bolt. Skyclave Apparition. That we can't cast, because we named Snake. I should have named Spirit. Alright. I guess I'll play out a redundant Glare of Subdual. That's pretty bad. Pass the turn. No attacks. Yep. Opponent Lava Darts. They untap. We tap a Prowess creature. Yeah. I think there was a better line than the one I took. That much is for sure. Yeah, we're dead to Lightning Bolt, so... Okay. Well, I don't think Burn is a good matchup for this deck. At least not in its current configuration. But hey, we're 1-1. I'll see you guys in round 3. Alright, we get to be on the play for round 3, and our only playable is a Hex Drinker here. I think we have to mulligan. I mean, a single land makes this hand actually quite good, but I don't think it was quite good enough. Oh, we can't keep a 1-land hand, at least not without Aether Vial. Gotta go to 5. Alright, I'm not crazy about it, but I don't want to mulligan too low. We'll put back Mystic Snake and Jace. Play Cavern. Name Snake. Pass the turn. Opponent also mulligan to 5, but is probably playing a more reasonable deck than us. They fetch up a Watery Grave, untapped, into a Stitcher's Supplier. So opponent is playing the, like, what is that called? Dredgevine kind of deck, or the Self-Mill Zombies. Play Lotus Cobra. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Hedron Crab. Luckily, I think our opponent is a deck that mills themselves more than they mill the opponent. They mill Prized Amalgam. That's pretty bad, because they can get back this Amalgam immediately. They fetch and shock Watery Grave to mill themselves some more. Creeping Chill. So they're probably playing Silver Smote Ghoul. I actually like this. This is kind of like a blue-black self-mill zombies. They play Gravecrawler, so they can get back Prized Amalgam. Then they attack for 1. No blocks. We take 1, they get a 3/3. We untap and draw Forest. So, play Forest. Get white mana. Play Teferi. Unsummon the Amalgam. We draw Breeding Pool. Go to combat. Attack for 2, because we can't protect Teferi. We hit our opponent down to 15. They play a Watery Grave untapped, milling themselves. They hit Stitcher's Supplier and Vengevine. They play Gravecrawler. Oh gosh, they're gonna give it back Vengevine this turn. Bloodghast. Wow. That's pretty good. So we're gonna have to Wheel of Sun and Moon them post board. Opponent's gonna have a big swing here though. So killing Teferi, hitting us for 6. We untap. We draw Ice-fang Quaddle. So blue-green, play the Quaddle. Draw a card. We get Teferi. Play Misty. Add white. Fetch with Misty. Get a green mana. Add blue. Play Teferi. Unsummon Vengevine. Play Hex Drinker. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Amalgam. They go to combat. Attack us, attack us, attack us, and attack us. What is our best option here? I don't really want to trade, but we can't out-aggro them. I think we just take the damage and see what we draw. Because if we draw the Snake Offering, or the Snake Summons, not Snake Offering, Coiling Oracle. Alright, blue-green, play Coiling Oracle, see what we draw, Windswept Heath. I could play Mystic Snake, or I could level up Hex Drinker, but that's not going to be enough. Not at this point. Okay. So, versus our opponent, we want the full exile removal package. We want basically everything out of this deck that is slow. And we want Wheel of Sun and Moon as well. So I think we take literally the top cards out of our deck for the other cards. I guess Shisato and Mystic Snake are probably better than Force of Negation. Yeah. Opponent doesn't play a whole lot of non-creature spells that we need to be forcing. At least to my knowledge. Alright, try like this. We need to get white mana more heavily because we have Skyclaves. I would like to play first. I cannot keep a one-lander. Alright, this I can try and keep. I'm going to have to put back Shisato, though. So, yep. We can fetch up Hallowed Fountain if we need to Path, which we're probably saving Path for any graveyard recurrent threat or Vengevine. Play Misty, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Watery Grave untapped. They also mulligan to 4. They play Hedron Crab. That's actually worth pathing, I think. I don't want them to get the self-mill started. Start Hallowed Fountain. Path the Crab. They get a land. We untap. Draw Snow-Covered Plains. Play the Forest. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Second Crab. Bloodstained Mire. Milling themselves. They hit a Creeping Chill. Okay. They're not going to mill themselves anymore. Interesting. Play Ice-fang. We draw Coiling Oracle. Untap. We draw Skyclave Apparition. I think I have to Apparition. Go to combat. Attack them for 1 in the air. Hit them down to 20. Play a Plains. Play Skyclave. Opponent cracks Bloodstained Mire for an Overgrown Tomb. Tapped. Mills themselves. Hit Stitcher Supplier land. Get rid of the crab. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays a Bloodstained Mire. Passes. We untap. Draw Wheel of Sun and Moon. If I want to get greedy, I could Coiling Oracle first. But I think we wheel them now. Go to combat first. Attack for 3. Hit them down to 16. Wheel of Sun and Moon. Pass the turn. 3 mana. Bantu's Last Reckoning. Opponent gets a token. Their lands don't untap next turn. Bantu's Last Reckoning going to the bottom of their deck. We untap. We draw Windswept Heath. Play Coiling Oracle. Let's see what we hit. Aether Vial. Play Aether Vial. Play Windswept Heath. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. They crack Bloodstained Mire. They held priority for some reason. They go to Watery Grave, untapped. They go to 13. They go to combat, and they pass. Venture Deeper, milling us. Okay, sure. They're going to play the Secret Keeper as a blocker? They may not have enough blue mana for that. I know we're probably supposed to hold on to Windswept Heath because of Lotus Cobra, but we removed most of our top end, so I'm fine fetching to thin. Aether Vial going to go up to 1. We draw Flooded Strand. Play Flooded Strand. Let's be intelligent about this. Play Crystal Shard. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. They play Narcomoeba. They play Overgrown Tomb tapped. Okay. So we're going to block and Crystal Shard our own guy. Nope. Take no damage. Fetch with Flooded Strand. I'm going to get a Snow-Covered Island. We untap. Aether Vial, going to go up to 2. We draw Lotus Cobra. Play Cobra. Play Oracle. We hit Sosuke's Summoning. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw 3 mana. They hardcast Prized Amalgam. They go to combat. They attack for 1 in the air and 1 on the ground. Block here. Crystal Shard. Pick up the Oracle. Take 1. They're leaving this in exile for some reason. We're going to Vial in Coiling Oracle. We draw Skyclave Apparition. Untap. Vial. Going to stay on 2. They concede. Alright, well that was going to be pretty sick. We were going to make a ton of 1/1s. I think we just run it back. It's possible that, like, cutting the top end the way that I have for the cards that I've been, like, bringing in is wrong. But it feels like if we don't get our early game stuff and we don't get our exile removal, like, we're never going to get to 4 and 5 mana, or 6, even with Lotus Cobra. But I am not the creator of this deck, and I'm sure they would be much wiser than I am. Opponent has sided into 61 cards. We can keep this, in theory, so I will. Opponent leads on Overgrown Tomb into Gravecrawler. We draw Temple Garden. Play Snow-Covered Plains, Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Playing like this basically to mitigate life loss. Opponent plays Bloodstained Mire, cracks Bloodstained Mire. They get a Watery Grave. Glimpse the Unthinkable on themselves. They hit 2 Narcomoebas, a Vengevine, and a Gravecrawler. So they get some 1/1s. We take some damage here. Untap, Aether Vial on 1. We draw Flooded Strand. I think I just play Temple Garden tapped here. Pass the turn. We'll Path if Vengevine becomes a factor. Okay, opponent plays Polluted Delta. They Mystic Repeal as their answer for Wheel of Sun and Moon. They go to combat. They attack us for 4. Sure. Take 4. Go to 14. And they're passing. Okay. On our end step, they have Abrupt Decay. I don't think this changes how we play next turn. Untap. We draw Hex Drinker. I wish I'd kind of let on Island rather than that Plains, but I think Hex Drinker is our turn 4 play. So for maximum damage prevention, I think we play Sosuke's Summons here. Because we can, like, block and kill a Gravecrawler and then chump Vengevine next turn. And then we can Skyclave Apparition, get rid of the other Gravecrawler, and Path the Vengevine. Like, we're still bleeding over the top from the Narcomoebas, but I think that's our best line. Opponent cracks Polluted Delta. They get an Overgrown Tomb, tapped. They untap. They play Verdant Catacombs. They crack Verdant Catacombs. They shock Watery Grave and go to 11. Blue, black, blue. They play Prized Amalgam, and now they'll play Gravecrawler. They get back Vengevine. And they swing all out. So we trade here, chump here, take 2, go to 12. We untap, we draw Aether Vial again. Play Flooded Strand, fetch with Flooded Strand, get Plains, Skyclave Apparition, take out Amalgam. I'm going to Path Vengevine now. I don't want them to have a chance to mill Bloodghast. Otherwise I might do this on upkeep. Okay, they did find a basic swamp. They venture deeper themselves, hitting Creeping Chill and another Vengevine. Yeah, that's going to kill us. Because they can recast that Gravecrawler and play the Merfolk Secret Keeper this turn. Or they might have another creature out of hand, which it looks like they do. Yep, deck's good. So they're going to be hitting us for 8. Block here. But we have no Wraths in the deck at all. We untap. Draw Hex Drinker. If our opponent didn't have that Abrupt Decay for that Vial, and we would have been able to get more stuff down, I feel like maybe we could have survived this. But, yeah. Alright. I'll see you guys in round 4. Alright, we will be on the play for round 4. And I'm going to keep this 7. We will lead on Cavern, name Snake, play Hex Drinker. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps, they draw a card. Creeping Tar Pit, so they are some kind of control. We draw Force of Negation. Play Windswept Teeth, crack Windswept Teeth, get a Temple Garden. Untapped. Play Coiling Oracle. We hit Plains. Level up. This is a great curve filler, by the way. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent takes 2, goes to 18. We pass. Opponent untaps. They play Field of Ruin. And pass. We untap. We draw Aether Vial. Play Misty. Go to combat. Attack for 3. Opponent takes 3. Play Aether Vial. Level up. Level up. Okay, we have protection from instants. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They shock Watery Grave. Pass the turn. Crack Misty. Get a Breeding Pool. Tapped. We untap. Aether Vial on 1. Draw Ice-fang. Go to combat. Attack for 5. Opponent takes 5. Goes to 8. Pass the turn. We have uncounterable Mystic Snake plus Force of Negation. Opponent is going to Field of Ruin our Cavern of Souls. You know what? That's fine. We have to get an island here, so we can still Mystic Snake. But, like, opponent is in danger. They were off white mana, so it looks like Esper Control. If it is, they probably have Supreme Verdict. They can't beat the Hex Drinker. That's awesome. Okay, do we have a board versus Esper Control? I don't think so. I think we just run it back as is. Cavern Hex Drinker seems like a great way to fight them. Same with Aether Vial. So run it back. And we also have Control Top End as well. Like, we have Chase and Teferi. Well, I can't keep a no-lander. That's a mulligan. This, on the other hand, I think is a keep. We're going to have to put back Seshiro, unfortunately. Because otherwise we're just doing nothing all game. Okay, opponent leads on Hallowed Fountain tapped. We draw Cavern. Play Cavern. Name Snake. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Glacial Fortress. And pass. We untap. Draw another Ice-fang. Play Cavern. Name Snake. Blue. Green. Coiling Oracle. Let the march of the uncounterable snakes begin. Okay. Coiling Oracle gets us Sosuke's summons. Pass the turn. Opponent is like, what the heck, I bet. Like, what do? Oh, opponent's stuck on 2 land. We untap. Draw another Ice-fang. Go to combat. Let the death by 1,000 snakes begin. Hit them for 1. They flash in Snapcaster Mage to block. Consider this a great sign of disrespect. Play Coiling Oracle. Let's hit a green land, shall we? Mystic Snake. Alright. Play Hallowed Fountain. Tapped. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They scoop? We won the match versus Esper Control. I mean, yeah, they were getting mana screwed, but like, oh, this was gonna get nasty. Oh, we're 2-2. I don't even do this well with Tron sometimes. See you guys in round 5. Alright, we're on the draw for round 5, and we have Force and Coiling Oracle, so I'm going to rely on that to get us there. Opponent leads on Mishra's Bauble, sure. They sack Bauble, targeting themselves. They play another Bauble. Pass the turn. We untap, they draw a card. We draw Cavern. Play Island. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps and draws. They are going to Serum Visions. I kind of want to force this. I think I'm gonna. I feel like they don't have lands. They hit Seachrome Coast and play Aether Spellbound. Okay, so this is definitely the Emery combo deck, I'm pretty sure. So we'll play Cavern, name Snake, and then play Coiling Oracle. What do we hit? Ice-fang Quaddle. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. This is going to be like the Underworld Breach kill. At which point, casting that Force of Negation was very incorrect. So opponent plays Emery, mills 4 cards. We untap and draw Lotus Cobra. So green, blue, play Lotus Cobra, play Cavern, name Snake, add green, play Ice-fang Quaddle. We draw Hallowed Fountain. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent probably just replays Bauble here and cracks it. I'm not sure if Teferi is actually does anything against my opponent's deck. If I unsummon Emery, they just replay Emery. Another bauble, one from Grave. Blue-white, they play Grinding Station. Okay. They're pretty close to having the combo. They bauble our top deck. We draw Vial. So play Hollowed Fountain, untapped. Add green mana, play Vial. They're going to bauble us again. The question is, do I play Teferi, and if I do I unsummon anything? Because my opponent is kind of hurting for mana. I could unsummon Emery, and then they'd have to tap... Well, they wouldn't have to tap out for her, I guess. I think we just leave up Mystic Snake and start getting in for damage. Hit them for 4. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw 2 cards. They play Scalding Tarn. They crack Scalding Tarn for a mountain. They play Monastery Mentor. That's a pretty good way to win the game. So we uncounterably Mystic Snake it. Opponent plays Mox Amber. Doesn't do anything else. Okay. They're going to replay Bauble. Sure. They immediately sack Bauble to try and draw a card. We untap. Aether Vial. Gonna tick up, but they draw a card to Bauble. We draw Crystal Shard. Crystal Shard's kind of fun, but it doesn't do anything yet. I can play Teferi and stop them from playing stuff at instant speed. I don't know if that actually does anything, though, is the problem. Go to combat. Attack, attack, attack. I think I have to play Teferi, but the question is, what do I try to interrupt, and does it matter? If I play Teferi, and I try and unsummon any artifact, they just sack it to Grinding Station, including Grinding Station. If I play Teferi and unsummon Emery, they just replay Emery. How do they get back infinite Mox Ambers? It's with Underworld Breach, right? But I can't stop them from playing Underworld Breach. Maybe I just play out Crystal Shard? Yeah, because if I try and unsummon an artifact, they just sack to Grinding Station. If I unsummon Teferi, or Emery, they just replay her for 1 mana and mill, and that, in theory, gets them closer to where they need to go. I can't play Sosuke Summonings because I don't have... Or Sosuke Summons, I'll never say that card right. Because I don't have green mana. And it's not a tribal sorcery snake. Alright. I'm going to play out Crystal Shard. Okay. Pass the turn. I could Crystal Shard Mystic Snake. So opponent gets to draw. They play Bauble out of hand. They bauble themselves. That tells me they don't have it yet. They're gonna opt. They play a Plains. They play Mentor. They're gonna replay Bauble. I wonder if this is just a card they're playing as a coincidence. We gotta let them have the Monk. Or if that's their primary win condition. Like, I don't know if they're still playing the Underworld Breach kill or not. They're gonna bauble us. So, Crystal Shard them. They pay for it. We untap. Aether Vial gonna tick up to 2. Opponent's drawing a whole bunch of cards. We draw another Aether Vial. So if I play out Teferi, I can't activate Shard. I only have 1 flyer. I can unsummon Mentor for 1 mana, but this Monk is still a problem. I can't Shard and get Mystic Snake. I can Shard, pick up Coiling Oracle, and then Vial it in to see what I draw. It feels like a waste of Shard. Okay, I'm gonna Shard Mentor here. Go to combat. Attack like this. Opponent's gonna trade with the Coiling Oracle and take 3, go to 6. Pass the turn. There's the breach we were afraid of. So opponent does have the infinite combo. So they can sack, mill themselves, play Mentor, and just get an arbitrarily large number of... They can play Mentor, get an arbitrarily large number of tokens, but I'm also sure that they have, like... They're just playing Thassa's Oracle as a one-of. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of ways they can win. Okay. So next game, we definitely want Path, Damping Sphere, Wheel of Sun and Moon. I'm going to cut Teferi, Jace. Hang on a minute. I don't think we can play fair. Like, if we just play Damping Sphere or Wheel of Sun and Moon, my opponent is going to have Mentor and then just run us over. They'll just cast the cards in their hand and then we'll be in trouble. I don't want to give up Force because of how important it seems. Mystic Snake seems too slow in this matchup. The counterspell is... like, I feel like I need the counterspell, but the issue is I don't have room for it in my deck. I still need to cut 3 cards to play this. Cut A summons. Man, this card seems so sweet. We just can't get it on the board. We only have 1 of it. I guess I cut like a Lotus Cobra and maybe a Quaddle. We'll try it like this. I cut a lot of creatures. And I mean, Skyclave Apparition is probably also where I should be here. I'm trying to... I don't want to just board out all the things that make this deck every single time. I mean, that probably means that the build's not optimal, there are more powerful things you can be doing, blah, blah, this and that. But that's not what this series is about. And I'm trying to play this deck competitively, but every time I win just because I have a silver bullet card in the sideboard, it feels like I'm not winning with this deck. It feels like I'm winning with literally any other number of cards and then Damping Sphere. Like, I could be playing 60 Mountain, Damping Sphere, 54 Mountain, or 56 Mountain, 4 Damping Sphere, and I would beat Storm. Like, this hand doesn't do anything. That's a mulligan. This hand might actually do something, and might do something quite powerful, so we're going to rely on our Coiling Oracles, hopefully get us there. Like, this looks like a sweet Snake's hand. And I just wish, like this deck is so close to being good. I feel like in a slightly slower metagame, it would actually have game, because, like, the repeatable Sosuke summoning thing is awesome. Like, that does really cool thing. We get a Breeding Pool tapped. But, like, in a fast meta with Blitz and stuff, it's not going to do a whole lot. Like, we saw how good this was versus Control, and yes, our Control opponent got mana screwed. But, like, how does our Control opponent beat uncounterable Explorers, literal Progenitus that can't be countered, like, Teferis and stuff like that? And I hate that this deck is kind of running Teferis, because to me, it really seems like... it almost feels like cheating. Like, this could be Spirits with those Planeswalkers, you know? And Spirits might actually be a better deck than this, but I was so excited to see another tribal deck. And I'm not, like, giving up or anything here. Oh, sweet. We have no green lands left to fetch with this, so I guess we just get Hollowed Fountain tapped. Sad day. Pass the turn. It just feels like this deck should be better than it is, or have, like, a slightly better option. I really feel like the Magecraft deck has forced the meta to speed up a little bit. And I'm kind of disappointed that that's the case, but also, like, what do you do about it? Play Coiling Oracle. We hit a Windswept Heat. This can't get blue mana, because we only have 1 of each duel. So fetch, get a Forest, play Hex Drinker, level up. Pass the turn. Put a Crax Bauble. And the fact that, like, all of our creatures draw cards is really, really awesome. Like, we have 8 2-drops that, like, ramp or draw. And, like, Coiling Oracle has, like, clear synergy with Hex Drinker because it puts more lands on the board, so you can get ahead on lands. So you can use your mana to Hex Drinker, and then, like, Aether Vial synergizes with Hex Drinker because then you're playing, you're playing your creatures with your Vial, your Vial, and then saving your mana to level up your Hex Drinker. And who knows? Maybe I'm just playing this deck wrong, but I'm not gonna out-token my opponent. I don't think. Play Cavern. Name Snake. So we have 2 options. I can either level up Hex Drinker and try and hit them to death with it, or I can play Sosuke Summons and play Ice-fang. I guess if I level this up to 3, it's more likely to survive. Actually, shoot, I should play Ice-fang Quaddle first, because we're not doing the summons. I'm not going to out-token a Mentor when my opponent is playing multiple 0-cost spells a turn. I also think Wheel of Sun and Moon is great tech. It's kind of underrated for what it does, because a lot of the self-mill decks, like, it just completely destroys. It also protects you from mill, so it's not as narrow as something like Ravenous Trap or Surgical Extraction. But if there's a lot of grave-based combo, I think Surgical might be better. Alright. I should have done this first, because if I drew, like, Path or something... I guess I draw Coiling Oracle. Okay. Level up. We need to get at least 4 counters on this guy this turn, though, which is why I'm not playing Summonings, because we need to be able to get him to 8 counters next turn. Opponent baubles, our top deck. I'm going to attack for 4. They shouldn't have a 0-drop card they can play at instant speed. And they shouldn't have any Phyrexian mana instants. Like, if my opponent gut shot here, it'd be such a blowout, but I don't think they play it. It's possible they do. They're in the right colors, and if they're worried about something like Magecraft aggro. But, okay, opponent replays Mishra's Bauble. Oh, you know what this deck doesn't have that would be a great payoff for your Lotus Cobras? Stonecoil Serpent. It's already got protection from multicolored. It has a wall of keywords on it. You can dump your whole mana pool into it to make a huge snake. It's colorless, so it doesn't matter if you're 3 or 4 or 5 color. Like, I bet you there's another snake worth running too. Okay, there's Grinding Station. Opponent goes to combat and attacks for 7. I'm just going to chump here, I think. We untap. Opponent gets to draw. We draw Snow-Covered Island. Okay, play Snow-Covered Island. Play Coiling Oracle. We hit Aether Vial. Level this up to 8. And it's going to come down to whether or not our opponent can kill us next turn. And there's a really good chance they can. But if they can't, we have them dead to a Hex Drinker. And maybe if I had fetched another Snow Basic instead of getting really greedy with my mana base this time, wouldn't you want to... No, I guess you want to go wide this turn. That's fair. I mean, we're probably dead with only 2 blockers. Opponent only has to cast like a small handful of spells, and at least one of them costs 0 this turn. Oh, never mind. They have an arbitrarily large number of tokens, and the creatures they do have are arbitrarily big up until their deck size. So, alright, well that's a little disappointing. Okay, let's talk about this deck list a little bit. I definitely got really, really excited at the beginning of this due to some early success. I am simultaneously excited by and disappointed in this deck, which is a weird combination that I've not felt very many times in my entire life. I'm disappointed because I feel like in this deck there are power considerations. So what does that mean? Like, this deck is very close to being competitive, and we never, like, we cast Jace the Mind Sculptor as an unsummon, and we cast, like, Force of Negation because you have to have powerful answers. And Force of Negation's not really what I'm talking about here. But, like, Teferi Time Raveler, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Teferi Hero of Dominaria, I don't think they should be in this deck. I know why they were put here, and it's to kind of, like, help increase the competitive edge of this deck. But I really wish that, like, this deck could just be a Snake Tribal deck. It's so close, too. Like, the power level is kind of there. Hex Drinker is just powerful by itself. You have Lotus Cobra, which is powerful by itself. It makes a ton of mana. You have Ice-fang Quaddle, which is powerful by itself, but generally only when supported by other things that are at instant speed, which you have Mystic Snake, and that's powerful by itself, and it's just coincidentally a body. You know, Crystal Shard, I really liked seeing. We got to do some sweet buyback shenanigans and at least won us one game. Like, you know, picking up our snakes, replaying our snakes, then Sosuke summons, which is one of the most insane tribal payoffs I've seen in a very long time. But, like, it just doesn't have that little bit of oomph it needs. And there are a couple of snakes, I was looking up, like, in between games and stuff, there are a couple of snakes that are worth playing. So, like, versus a blue-black opponent, I found 2/2 that gains a counter every time you draw a card, because, like, the lower half of our deck just says draw a card. If we had, I'm just like frustrated because if we just had like one more good snake payoff, this would be a somewhat reasonable competitive deck. And like, I really think there's room for a deck like this to exist because there's so many Bant tribal decks that you can play in Modern. Just off the top of my head, you can play Merfolk, which is in Bant colors. You can play Spirits, which is in Bant colors. You can play Humans, which is in 5 colors, but also Bant colors. You can play Allies, which is in Bant colors. And now you can play Snakes. Like, that's so cool to me. And each of them has kind of their own unique identity in a way. Like, Merfolk, they have like the 2-mana lords. And Spirits, they have the 2-mana lords, but they also have like hexproof lords and they fly. You have Humans, that they add a bunch of 1/1 counters and they interact with your opponent's hand, and they have Meddling Mage, and they're the true like 5-color competitive option. And there's Slivers, which is all lords, but not quite as good as Humans, but also has a slightly different identity in that their lords grant other things than just +1/+1 or 1/1 counters. And now you have Snakes, which is your cards draw cards and like are just insane card advantage and some like Swiss Army knife utility, as well as being absolutely carried by one of the best one drops ever printed, period. But it's missing something, and I'm not necessarily the person to come up with that. And maybe I was just playing the deck wrong. Like maybe maybe you're familiar with this deck or the creator of this deck. If you are, and you're just like, Kano, you're dumb. All you got to do is do this, and the deck works, and you're just playing the deck with an incorrect mindset. Like, let me know, because this deck is really sweet, and I want to run into more decks like this. And just like someone picks a random tribe that happens to have 2 payoffs, and those 2 payoffs are relevant in Modern. That's cool to me, because with as big as the Modern card pool is, there should be more scenarios like this. Yes, it's kind of been mined out in a way because so many things have been explored, but I really hope that Wizards uses the next Modern Horizons. I don't want them to print more Hogaaks, or I don't want them to bring things like crop rotation into Modern. I want them to print niche tribal payoffs. That's what I want to play. I don't want the best X tribe to always be, like, the best blue tribe. I don't want it to always be Merfolk. I would like slivers to be competitively viable. And they printed slivers in the last Modern Horizons, along with changelings and stuff like that. They made ninjas a viable tribe by adding the clever infiltrator, or ingenious infiltrator, or whatever it's called. Fallen Shinobi was this incredible top-end ninjas payoff. And yeah, it gets added into fairies, but like, then there's some overlap. But I think that's cool. Like, and Hexdrinker was a Modern Horizons print, but it wasn't specifically a snake print. It was just, here's a good one drop, and it happens to be a snake. But like, I want them to print more cards that are high power level that only get run in decks that aren't Jund, the decks that aren't Esper Control, like, and that's a big ask, because it's not impossible to design a strong card. It is much, much harder to design a niche strong card and have it fill only that niche. There are times where they design a quote-unquote niche card and it gets added to everything. See Omnath. The casting cost on Omnath was supposed to be restrictive, such that you would only play it in a 5-color deck or an elemental dedicated deck, because elementals has things like Primal Beyond. They have Cavern of Souls, they have Unclaimed Territory. Like, that sort of mana base is something that was meant to cast Omnath. And through a product of unfortunate circumstances, Omnath was just too high power level, and the top end of the metagame of every format was homogenized around Omnath, because all of the mana pools in every format was too strong. But truly, I really believe that card was supposed to be niche design. It only went in one deck, but that one deck just happened to be too good. Like, and that's an example of how to do it incorrectly. So there's this weird power balancing act where if you're trying to design a card that fits in, I don't know, Bant Modern Snakes, it has to be high enough power level, and the effect has to be narrow enough that you only run it in Snakes, and not so high that, like, Bant Flash Control is now the deck, And if you look at an effect like Seshiro, the double Anthem effect is truly unique. It's not something that you see on a lot of cards. The fact that it's a particular tribal anthem too is exciting, and he has a snake payoff. And this is truly, like, is supposed to be the snake flavor, because you have things like Ophidian Eye, the original snake that was modeled after, the 3-mana 1/3 that would draw you cards when it hits your opponent. Coiling Oracle draws you cards. Ice-fang Quaddle draws you cards. They're generally, snakes have higher toughness than they have power, and that sort of thing. And so, like, when I see this, I see an exciting tribal lord. And yes, I understand that most 6-mana cards are not playable in Modern unless they completely, like, end the game, like Primeval Titan. But I just want more niche playable cards. I don't want the most powerful card that slots into the, top deck. I don't want them to print Assassin's Trophy plus. I don't want them to print Vindicate and then, like, people stop running Jund and Maelstrom Pulse and start running Abzan and Vindicate. Like, that's the kind of thing that I don't want them to do. I don't want them to keep pushing individual card power level ceilings so high that the new cards sell the set and must be run in eternal formats, especially in a set like Modern Horizons. And I'm really worried that they're going to print cards, like, there was a leaked list where, like, people are saying they're going to print Crop Rotation, and they're going to print Price of Progress, and they're going to print Hymn to Turok, and they're going to print all these other cards that are absurdly high power level into Modern. I don't want that. I want them to bring back some of the cool cards from the older sets that aren't just crazy power level, that are truly like designed for a modern power level, and then use the remainder of the slots to print cool stuff for, I don't know, Badger Tribal. Or, you know, whatever, like all of your badgers gain Bloodthirst 5 or some crazy shenanigans like that. Like that's a badger flavor. And here I am ranting about badgers on a video about snakes. I should get back to this deck list really quick before I wrap this up, because I went really off the rails for that rant. And it was a good rant, but I feel like a lot of the points I made were valid, but I know people are going to disagree with me, and I was kind of just talking. It wasn't really thought out, so... I like the flavor of this deck. I like what it does. I'm just disappointed that it has to run, you know, generic high power planeswalkers to kind of like edge its way into the like tier 3, tier 2 area. I really, really, really like the things that make this deck unique. I like the Glare of Subdual, plus the Go Wide, plus the synergy with Shisado. You know, your opponent has to start skipping their untap steps. Like, that's an absurdly high power level thing. I like the double Anthem. I already explained that. I like the Snake Rider of draw a card whenever a snake deals combat damage to a player. You know, Path, Force, Wheel of Sun and Moon, Damping Sphere, all of those cards are like reasonable sideboard cards for any sort of deck to be playing. Skyclave Apparition as a sideboard card kind of tells me that you're using it to edge out the power level of your main deck game plan, which is not as good. So I'm a little bit disappointed because, you know... I don't know. Another thing that you could add to this deck that I was thinking of is you could add the blue-white Changeling that force spikes anything that you target your creatures with, because that can be played off of Cavern of Souls. You could technically play it as a snake, kind of a deal. More snake payoffs. That's what I want. More snake payoffs. Anyway, I think I'm done ranting. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The last few have been earlier than that. And, yeah, I really appreciate your viewership. I'm super, super happy that we've made it over the 1,000 mark milestone, or the 1,000 subscriber milestone. That's huge. I feel like a real YouTuber, and I feel like I'm making real content. There's been a real uptick in interest in the channel, and I'm super, super excited about that. I want to make more content like this, where it's some obscure deck that no one's ever heard of, or very few people have ever heard of, because there's going to be that one guy in the comments who's like, I've been playing Snake Tribal since Hex Drinker was printed. Well, if you have, let me know what I did wrong, because I really want to make this deck work. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. You're all wonderful human beings. Bye!